Good morning, buenos dias. Thank you very much. It's nice to be among friends. And it's a pleasure in a number of ways to be invited here to share some thinking, especially with my friend and the distinguished business leader, Alex Ramirez. Number one, it's an honor to be here and to be supportive of the important and good work of the Business Families Foundation, an organization that has been nurtured and moved through the decades by my good friends Nanby and Philippe de Gaspé-Beaubien, who are exceptional leaders in their own right, and now led at the executive level through Olivier Richoufs, who you saw on stage just a minute ago. This is a great organization, and it inspires great families like yours to collect, learn together, learn from each other on a more than annual basis. And I would say that the gatherings that I attend of the BFF are really my favorite gatherings of the year, comprised of the families that I think are best in a number of dimensions. So thank you very much for the kind invitation to be with BFF again today. Second, every time I come to one of your gatherings, I learn something. Like yesterday, we had a really interesting conversation all through our board meeting yesterday, which is a small gathering of people that are kind of wildly passionate about this organization. And I learned about the wonderful work that's being done, exceptional, groundbreaking work that's being done at Tech de Monterrey by the Inc. organization in terms of encouraging entrepreneurship. Really, absolutely world-class work, and it was stimulating and inspiring to be able to have that experience. Finally, let me just say that I'm on stage today and I'm going to try to adumbrate what I present so that my colleague Alejandro Ramirez can extend a bit on his remarks. I'm on stage today with one of the best thinkers, one of the best family business leaders, not just in Mexico. Alex is one of the top business leaders in all of Mexico, and not only, honestly, the finest example of a next generation intrapreneur that I can think of, but an exceptional human being, which you'll get to know soon. So for all of those reasons, thank you for allowing me to be with you for this morning. And let me start by reflecting a bit on this important topic and what I've been learning over the past Philippe just said 50 years. I'm going to shorten that a little bit, Philippe. I think it's closer to 40, but thank you for that. And to say this, I've been interested forever in this topic of how family companies stay alive, how they remain successful, how they get passed over generations, how they continue to innovate in order to be adaptive and to be successful. About 10 years ago, I shifted my perspective from how do family companies stay successful over generations, which is a very, very important topic. I haven't given up my interest there. But two, how do families stay successful? over generations. Now, those two topics, as I'll explain, are very related, but they're different. It's looking at an issue from a different vantage point. And the vantage point of family success helped me, and I think can help us, answer some questions that I didn't quite see when I was just looking at the company survival question. So let me show you what I'm learning so far. Number one, there are lots of ways of becoming financially successful. Actually, there are several that I've been able to identify. But if you look at the data that exists on families that are successful and very successful, if you look at the lists of the ultra-wealthy, what you find is that around 90% of all of the families that become financially successful do so because they have an operating business or two. They're in business. Now, it's not the only way to become rich, but it's the most prevalent way of gaining financial success. Now, I'll pause, because financial success is a measure of family success. And I'm not here to say, to argue, to promote the idea that financial success is the measure, the only measure, the most important measure of family success. I don't think it is. But it's one way to consider how families do become successful in a variety of ways, and how they stay successful, okay? So what you find is that most families that become successful get their biggest boost in one generation. Not always true, generally true. And what happens here, and it doesn't have to be in the first generation, could be, but it happens in one generation. And in this generation, a good idea meets with hard work and an expanding market opportunity and a little luck creates a big boost in wealth. That's what happens. Now, what happens when it gets there? It usually passes, according to our research, into the second generation, and then it takes one of three paths. The first path is well known as the 3-generation rule, and it goes like this. It goes up and it goes down. Why does it go down? Well, for 3 major reasons. One is that, and again, these are families usually with businesses, so let me talk about that experience. The returns on the business start to go down. The company fails to diversify, they fail to adapt, to innovate, and the industry tends to become more mature, consolidates, the company itself becomes less efficient, returns start to go this way exactly at the time the family's going this way. And you know what I mean. Families tend to grow like Christmas trees. They're pointy at the top, and then they get a little broader, and right around the 4th generation, in Mexico it's closer to the 3rd, the base goes out. And you can have a lot of family members who have increasingly nice lifestyles and become increasingly dependent upon the business for their lifestyles. And so you have a combination of decreasing returns and increasing consumption. Really bad combination. But then you say, well, why doesn't the family do something about that? When you see that happening, can't the family just make a new decision? Well, yes, but they don't. Because right about here, families come apart. They lose confidence in the leadership of the company and the family. They fragment, and then it's every man for himself. And then they stop, everything stalemates, and maybe one portion of the family will survive. It'll go on, it'll innovate, it'll become entrepreneurial, but the original family tends to not. Okay? Now, what an uplifting speech so far, Professor Davis. This is so nice, it's so exciting. Okay, let me tell you some more bad news before I get to the good news. Here's the second path. And in this path, families tend to crash earlier. Their wealth falls like a rock. Why? Well, any number of reasons. Any number of reasons. Recessions, wars, natural disasters, the unfortunate loss of successors, family wars can lead to this. And also betting on bad ideas, of course. But this is what we've learned about that. Everybody bets on bad ideas. I don't know a single person, a single business leader that I respect that hasn't made some bad investments. And anybody that tells you that they're immune to this is a liar, including Donald Trump. So, by the way, this pin that I'm wearing on my lapel is the new symbol in the U.S., just starting, for those of us who are opposed to this. And may I start as an American by just saying to this Mexican audience, I'm so sorry. I am really so sorry. And maybe we can do something about it. Democracy misfires every once in a while. We know that. You know that. So let's see what we can do as friends to make this better. Okay, so everybody bets, sometimes badly, but the families that stay in business not only know how to find good opportunities to bet on, but they bet in a reasonable way. They tend to bet smaller at first, be very experimental, smaller at first, and then when they see a strategy working, they go for it. Listen to Alex's story in this regard. And second, they know how to get out of bad bets. Now, I'll say this and then I'm going to move through the rest of what I have to say to you. Families are terrible, not just bad, not just okay. They're terrible at getting out of bad bets. If I could teach you anything, even more than how to identify good bets, it would be how to get out of bad bets. Because if you overbet on something that's bad and you don't have a way of pulling the plug, you're going to lose. And in today's economy, count on that happening. Things are moving so fast and you have to experiment and you must be experimental. And if you're not losing sometimes, you're not trying hard enough. But if you can't get out of bad bets, you're in real danger today. Because today's economies, not all industries, are a winner-take-all kind of philosophy. You have to move to get to significant scale to stay in the game, you're going to have to bet, but you're sometimes going to lose, and so get good at this, please. So, now the good news. There are families, we think about 15% of all families stay on this regeneration path. It's not a big number. And most of those families that stay on a regeneration path do so because they have exceptional, innovative, adaptive operating companies. They also have other assets, financial assets, real estate portfolios. We're tracking this. They have assets that stabilize their financial success that allows them to be prudently risk-taking, okay? But they stay in adaptive business. And this is why you need people like Alex. You need strong intrapreneurs to help guide, adapt, innovate, revolutionize, redefine your companies. So, what I have discovered is that the path to success of regeneration has to do with not only growing your assets and growing them faster than you consume them, and families are very good at consuming them, so are businesses, by the way, but also growing the needed talent that you have in your non-family talent and family talent. And one of the important family talents that you should be on the lookout for are great intrapreneurs. And then finally, staying united. And I'll pass over this quickly so that we can get on to Alex. Now, there are lots of different kinds of talent that you need in your family, not just one. But one of the kinds that you need in your family are people that know how to make money. And it doesn't mean that you're going to produce great operators of your business, by the way. You might. Could be great. You could produce great ones and they love operating a company. That's fine. But you can delegate that to non-family. You can. But what you need are people that know how to make bets. And bets of two kinds. And this is your ultimate responsibility, and when your family loses these abilities, it's game over. I mean that. You have to learn how to make investments, how to place investments. Many families can stay good at that. Some families can't. So that they have to be good at the second of these two. And that's how to choose great people. Now, ideally, you're going to stay great at both of these things. How to place investments and how to choose the right people. Inside your family and outside your family. You do that, and you get other people to contribute in your family in other ways, you're on a good path. Now, you also need these kinds of people because the family base needs to stay stable. But it's a game. You can play this game. You can win at this game if you pay attention to the things we're talking about now. But these people are central, wealth creators. And Alex Ramirez is a wealth creator, big time, as Donald would say. And knowing how to both choose great people and to place important bets. Now, these wealth creators obviously build wealth. They're more, when you talk to people like Alex, the building of wealth, it's a measure. It's interesting. It's cool. but it's not how they judge themselves. They're more interested in getting enough influence in situations and achieving great things. Identifying and assessing opportunities. They're very innovative, very change-oriented, a bit dissatisfied with the way things are now. Prudent risk-taking. If you want to get good returns on your assets, you must take some risks. But you have to be analytical at the same time, and you have to be able to move in and move out of activities. You have to be able to attach, become engaged, involved, and then be able to draw back. And the best wealth creators I know can do that. Heightened sense of responsibility to the family and the team. If you don't have this, you have a loose cannon. You have maybe a renegade that might not be building enough wealth for your family. They like to lead. And there are 3 different flavors here. One is the intrapreneur like Bill Marriott. And Bill, the son of the founder of Marriott, was a real organization builder. This is a guy who joined his dad after serving in the Navy, the U.S. Navy. And he comes into the family company just after they build the first hotel. And Bill says, well, we're new in this game. I'll learn hotels. So he runs the front desk at night. He cleans rooms. He makes beds. He washes dishes. He parks cars. He does the back office work. He takes over the books. He learns the guts of the business first, and then as the company grows, he takes every new job and learns it, and then finally he has a business model that he can scale. Dad, by the way, didn't think a lot of Bill. He didn't think he was very smart. He didn't think he was very creative. He didn't think he was also he wasn't very charismatic. Dad was a real charismatic type. But he reluctantly turns over the business to Bill Jr., and because of the advice of a strong advisor, non-family advisor. And then Bill does okay. He builds the business from about $100 million to over $8 billion in his tenure, which is not bad, right? It's not bad. Dad would have done better. I know he would have done a lot better than Bill, his son. You can laugh occasionally. But Bill does fine. He's an intrapreneur. Alex Berman. Alex and I both know this guy. He's an entrepreneur in Brazil who starts a shoe company like his dad, eventually merges with his dad's company, is now the CEO, but very entrepreneurial and intrapreneurial. You don't have to be just one of these. And then finally, a guy like Jay Pritzker, who couldn't run a company. I mean, by his own admission, he couldn't run a company, he could never start a company, but he was really good at buying and putting together companies and making sure that they were well-funded and allowing them to grow and taking advantage of all of the synergies. So 3 different ways of doing it. We're going to be focusing on this way, the intrapreneur. And if you take a look at some families, let me see if I go here. Here's a family named Haub today, and this guy starts the business. He's an entrepreneur, 2nd generation. And actually it passes from 1st to 3rd generation because he stays on so long. This guy is an intrapreneur, grows the company more, gets into retailing in a big time. Erwin Haab, fourth generation, comes in after World War II, salvages, this is a German company, salvages this company and builds it into a retailing masterpiece. And then his two sons are portfolio builders. So you can move around as you need to in order to stay successful, and families do. But this guy, along with this guy, and they're all important, really put them on the map. So if you take a look at Bill in general, very hands-on, but can back off and see the big picture. Quite analytical, very interested in making it better and better and better. Organization builder, very, very committed to attracting strong talent. Very manageable ego. He wanted to surround himself with people that were really, really, really strong, and did. Highly professional, highly ethical, really approachable guy. So, we're down to all of these aspects of Intrapreneurs, and now it's my great pleasure to introduce you to probably the finest example of doing this, not just in your backyard, but among all of the students that I've taught over 20 years at Harvard Business School. Alex is right at the top of that list in terms of what he's accomplished, but also how he's done it. And I'm going to let Alex tell his story, but Alex, thank you very much for coming here and sharing what you've been able to do since coming back to your family business.